Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for sparing your time. Today, I think we all agree we are living in a time of massive global shifts. Week to week, things keep changing. To understand our world today, we have to look past the news headlines. We need to see the real forces at play. Before we begin, let me remind you who we are and what we do. At the Find Your Truth training platform, we focus on your individual potential and spiritual progress. We are also working hard on our Masjid project to revive the Ummah. Let us be completely honest. A real revival will not happen if we ignore these two things: the individual potential and spiritual progress, and the revival of the Ummah. Both need our attention. We cannot fix the wider world if we do not fix our own characters and revive our sacred spaces. But remember, there's no point in gaining knowledge if there is no action to bring about the change. So the action is very much part of our platforms and whatever work we do. A piece of paper or a certificate on a wall serves no one. Imam Ghazali beautifully warned us about this. He said, the knowledge without action is vanity. Vanity meaning pride, self-interest, admiration for self-interest only. Yeah. So he says knowledge without action is vanity, but action without knowledge is insanity. So today at VOTP, we gain knowledge to get into action. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. So we are looking at the political and economic layers underneath the surface. We want to understand them so we can act wisely. This is how we protect our future and our communities. To help us see this clearly, we are truly honored to welcome back Sister Farhana Kotalan. She's brilliant at decoding global politics. She helps us look past the confusion and see the actual chessboard. Please give a warm welcome to Sister Farhana for today's vital session, The Invisible Architects, Decoding the Global Power Plays in Iran. This is part 2. If you want to see part 1, the video recording is available. Over to you, Sister Farhana.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Faida. So, subhanallah, welcome everyone to this important session of understanding the various power structures on the world. And subhanallah, it's actually my honor to have these important topics being given to me. And, in the process of, wanting to educate everyone, the first person I'm educating is myself. So, subhanallah, and we have, so much access to so many authors and experts, on our YouTube. So there's a lot of good resources for anyone out there who wants to learn deeply into these topics. So, inshallah, we will do a quick review of what we learned last time. And then, inshallah, we'll go on to the part 2, which is going to be more with the current, the nation states and their role in the current dynamics. But as usual, at VOTP, we kind of want to zoom out, look at the bigger picture from a very, very high level. So let me go ahead and get started, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll go this way. Okay, so let's start with Ibn Khaldun. So Ibn Khaldun was a polymath genius, in the 1300s. And he was a historian, a sociologist, philosopher, and a Muslim. So he did a lot of work on understanding, how the various empires and the various kingdoms, rose and then declined over a period of time. And he has, put his work in the book called Muqaddimah. One of the important concepts, he explains in this book is called Asabiyyah. And Asabiyyah basically means, social cohesion. That is the group of people of a particular land or a particular kingdom all coming together to work for one particular, purpose. and getting the energy they need to go ahead and fulfill that purpose. There's loyalty there, there's bonding there, there's the same sense of purpose there. They have a lot of energy to keep working and moving. Plus, they are also very creative with the solutions, with the openness. So this is one important thing which we had learned last time. So I'm just going to quickly move through the slides since we have details which we discussed last time. So you see the Asabiyyah, if you make a pinwheel of that, you have the cohesion, a lot of energy in this group of people and openness. And what Ibn Khaldun has, studied in the history, and, if we study the history, what we find is that usually it's a small group of people which starts with the concept of Asabiyyah, and it's probably a verb, with the concept as well as with the actions, related with the social cohesion, that ultimately makes them to come into power. And this is a cycle of power. A small group, usually always it's a small group. It's a small group which initially starts. They have a collective purpose. They rise, they convince others to join their team. They conquer, establish their rule, and there will be a period of prosperity after that. And once the prosperity comes, the people of the next generations will slip into comfort and luxury, and then that kind of will lead into decline. And then, again, small group of people, again, the cycle will start, whether it's in the same area or in a different place. So this is kind of, just the cycle of the human civilizations. Okay. And what is the role of power in this? So usually, the first group usually will have very, high, will have higher goals, higher purpose, and then they will, make this strategy, convince everyone, and they will come into power. Once they come into power, here, what happens is that the people who are in power want to kind of pass on the power to their kids. So there's a lot of hereditary transfer, is a desire of human beings. They want to, send it to, transition this power to their kids. And then this leads to, bureaucracy, hierarchical structures. They want to prevent the other people, the ones on the lower social classes, to come up. And this can produce a lot of issues. And also, when the number of elites and number of sons, they become more in number, there's going to be a lot of infighting as well. So a lot of factional strife happens. In that period, if they become open and they are cooperating, they again can do a lot of work. They also sometimes can they will also cooperate with other people outside their own group for alliances to help them. This can lead either to a degeneration of the empire, or if they're cooperating, it can lead them to become more imperial power. But most of the time, this after a period of this imperial power, then it'll ultimately lead to decline because of the infighting and the corruption and the greed for the power. Yes, so so the little bit of what is politics is going on. Once a once a power comes in, the elites, the techniques they use is they'll kind of start forming small groups, secret groups, and within that group they will have techniques how to keep their members loyal. And most of the time, they might be indulging in practices which are oppressive, which are corrupt. But since all of them are in it together, they kind of have a cohesiveness, or a bonding, or a loyalty around that. We all are in the game, and we got to all be together to keep ourselves safe and to keep growing. So they kind of have the trust in that way, and then they kind of play the politics with the other groups. So this is a little bit of a inside scoop on how the people in power can work. They also, as we mentioned about, they can form alliances with outside partners. If they need strength, they can form alliances, which we see in the Middle Eastern countries. They form alliances with America, with with the other countries to help them, right? But most of the time, again, they either will be limited by the alliance if they are more smarter than them, or the alliances can even overtake them, and overthrow them. So this kind of power dynamics we can see as well. Okay. And the important point to remember is what we see on the surface. I mean, the players which we see on the surface are usually not the people, not the people who are, who are really calling the shots. Okay. That was something which we saw last time. And it's some of the important uh, I mean, the people in power are going to be calling certain important shots. One is, the either they're going to be, defining the currency, or managing how the resources are going to be shared, or the controlling the resources. So that's one important thing that the whoever is in power does. They, write the rules. They write the rules of the game, how things have to go on. And then they also will build a complete narrative and a story, and they will start training the kids, and the media will educate the all the people. So they are all going to be buying this story, and no one usually will question, why this is, happening, or who's benefiting from this. The common man is too busy just, earning his bread and living his life. So they will control the narrative as well. So they'll invest in narrative, and then they will, decide, with whom they will cooperate, and with whom they will, consider as allies, and whom they will, consider as, others, or terrorists, or anything of that sort. So this is kind of the four important things which the whoever is in power will be doing, and usually they are the ones who are behind closed doors. Okay. That's kind of a little bit about the power structures. This is kind of, we're talking about in general power structures. We'll go on a little specifics, as we go on in the slides. They again have to work in 5 layers to enforce their rules. They will need to have, the military power, right? They will have to have control on the resources, and the currency, right? The financial power. They will have to have the institutional power, especially the education centers, and the yeah, and the in the Congress, or the rule policy making bodies as well, right, to write the rules. They will have to have this entire layer of the knowledge creation team, and the narrative team, the media, the universities, schools, right, who are going to be teaching their rules to the people from very, very young age, and showing the benefits, and convincing them, and making them compliant with that. And then they will also have people who are going to monitor that, right? The managers and the owners, who are going to make sure, and the police workers, and they're going to make sure that these are going to be managed in the social thing. The military is more for outside and their boundaries, but social hierarchies for within their country, within their own state or people. Okay. Yes. Before I go to this slide, okay. So they basically three. Yeah, we'll discuss this. We discussed this at length, but I will kind of quickly recap. But I want to kind of go to the next. Yeah. So basically, we want to understand that there are going to be three. It's more than one slide. I just want to go to. Yeah. So basically, if you look at the global powers, the current global powers, they basically, there are three groups, um, and the whole world. If you want to we can divide into three groups. One is the financial elite, the ones who are running the money, the finances and the resources. That's one group. Now we actually have the technological elite, and the financial elite, the two groups. The ones who are running the technology, the technology elite have become very big as well. Okay, so financial elite was one which is only going to deal with the banks, but now we have the technological elite. So let's put them in the same category, but that's two different sections. Then you have the nation states, right? The feudal lords, after world and that they've divided into countries, and then after the World War II, we divide as nation states. So that is kind of one player which we see. And then we have the ideological elites, the philosophers or the thinkers who are kind of writing the blueprints of what power should be like. So these are kind of three uh, different groups, and they kind of will all interplay, and they will all intersect, and then the things will happen in the world. Okay, so we'll kind of look at each of this separately. Because at the surface, when you see, we think that it's kind of the nation states. It's like just it's a country. It's countries are playing in isolation. America is in one country. Iran, Russia, they are the ones who are the only ones who are the power dynamics is just happening between the nation states. But actually, it's much more deeper than that. There are these financial elites, and there are the now technological elites who are kind of going across borders. Okay, so that's one important thing. And the same thing with ideological elites, they also kind of go across borders. Some of the example of ideologies, Zionism is one of the the most powerful one in the current time. The liberal Western liberalism was kind of was what was going on before. So the postmodernism. So these are ideological elites are kind of giving the the philosophy for the entire groups. Okay, all this kind of will happen together, and there's a lot of interaction between these. Okay, so now let's kind of go on and look a little bit into the financial elite and those actually. Okay, so I'll go back to those slides, and then we will discuss the nation states. And that's where the current dynamics between United States, Russia, Israel and Iran is we're going to discuss that. Okay, the ideological elites I've not discussed much in this presentation. Okay, fine. Let me go on to the financial elites. Okay, any questions thus far? Is this kind of any questions so far in the layers of the power and the how power kind of shifts in the civilizations on a on a generic basis? Any questions thus far, or I'll move on.
When this, Sister Farhana, when we are saying the cycle of power and decline, does that mean that we as Muslims do not retain? We are also following that cycle instead of,
Yeah.
keeping to taqwa and keeping to purity. We've lost our way.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, remember the slide I showed, what will happen, the elites will come, the Sassanid Empire, the Umayyad empires, different empires, they want to pass, the power to their own generations
Yeah.
in fighting. And that's classically what kind of happened in the Islamic, civilization as well. Unless, so to maintain power is also huge. Unless they are people who are grounded in the faith, they know how to, bring in cohesion. The education system is robust to keep maintaining the that Islam is the priority, and keeping greed at bay. So unless those are in place, it will go into the same cycle, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what we did too. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. So we did that. Okay. So now let's kind of look at the the transnational capital. So the transnational capital is basically the group which manages the capital. Okay, and mainly in the form of resources, and that translates into currency. And now we are having the technological the technological elites coming up as well, and we will see how they are going to be, how they're going to play out. Probably we should start looking into how they are beginning to come into the elite positions and now call the shots as well. So that has begun as well. Okay, but the transnational capital has been going on for for the past 400 centuries, 400 years, 4 centuries now. Okay, so what they basically do is these are the kind of the various important aspects. They will shape national policies, making sure that their the wealth is preserved. So they will have an important role in the bank regulations. Okay, they will and have the governments make policies which are catering to their interest. Then the Wall Street, they have a lot of role in the markets as well. That's going to be an important role. They will kind of look at places which are are places which will buy the commodities. They will invest in that. So they kind of look at markets, emerging markets. Right now the developing countries are kind of the emerging markets for the product. So they'll be kind of moving across the nations. That's why this is transnational. It's really not within one nation. It's across the globe. Okay, they will find out places for getting the resources, whether it's Africa, all the the cobalt and minerals from Congo. So they are kind of be looking at all that resources, where they're going to get from, where the markets are going to be. They will make policy. They'll have the nations make policies so that the trade can happen, and then they also will determine the currency of the different, in the countries as well. So all this is actually done by these by the financiers. Okay, so this is the financial capital. I can go down to the details of this. So this, as we mentioned earlier, it started before, and Venice was a very big market, financial center, and around 1600s. Then the Netherlands, that's a Dutch Republic, became a very big, a financial center. Then England came after that, and then it's now the America. So it's kind of shifted over the past 4 centuries from Venice all the way to America. And this is does not include the Islamic empire. Okay. And yes, and right now, there's this bank in Basel, which is kind of, which is a this is a private bank, and with these financiers, and they kind of, call these important things, as we should see in this slide. Okay. All right. Let me go. I think, let me see if I have it. Okay. So so a little bit explanation of what is capital. So capital basically is capital basically means, it's the energy, the focus. I mean, whatever work the humans are putting. That is actually the real wealth, is the human capital. So basically, the simple principle is the elites will kind of figure out a way how to capitalize this, or that's why I mean, how to harness this ability of the common man. Okay, so what's the ability of the human being? The important ability of the human being is to put his focus, and energy into doing something, right? So that is where out of that will come products, will come services, will come cultivation, will come everything. So that is the main potential of the human being, which the elite want to tap. Okay, so that you can call that as capital. And so subhanallah, and this, if you go back in the 1600, they used to have the landlords, and they used to have the farmers or workers in the field. And again, the landlords, the main, they want the farmers to be kind of keep on producing, more and more and more, to uh, and then give this to the landlords, and they can sell, and they can again multiply those grains or whatever is coming out of those fields. Right. So typically, if anyone does that, you see, the farmer, in general, the farmer, he just will care about having enough food for him to eat, maybe some to store for the difficult times, or when the weathers are bad or rough times, and then have a peaceful life. That is his objective, right? But the objective of the landlords is not that. They want this farmer to kind of keep on be busy day in and day out by producing and putting his energy and focus into producing whatever products they want to produce. So that is kind of their goal. Now, how do they do this? If they ask the farmer to, you have to work for me all the time, of course, the farmer is going to get upset, and he'll see through the plan, and he will kind of not do it, right? But what they do is they will, so they have certain ways how they're going to um, trap the farmer or the common man, into doing this. The way they trap it is, they kind of, say that they kind of will convince the farmer that, if you do this, you're going to have more of this. You're going to have more equity. You're going to get more money. You're going to get more of the wealth. So they kind of going to get that greed into him, and they're going to say that it's going to be yours. So it's yours. So they will not, the fact that it is going to under someone else is not going to be very clear to them. Okay, so they'll give the illusion of freedom. That's one. The second thing what they will do is that they have, if it used to be, grain or gold, like solid things which the farmer could see in the beginning, but then they kind of made it abstract. They made it abstract into a currency, right? Like a money. Actually, so the money or the dollar bill, it's just a piece of paper. So, but is abstract. So because of that, the it's hard for the farmer to, or the trader, whether it's grain or gold, to kind of see how much is there and feel content. Okay, I have enough. I have enough. This my store is full of grain. Okay, I'm content, right? That is easy. But when you have just this money, this paper, it's very hard for the brain to comprehend that. So that makes it very abstract, and he kind of wants to have more and more, since he's really not feeling satisfied just by looking at a piece of paper, right? Because in the heart of the mind, the brain, it knows that this is just a piece of paper. There's no guarantee in that piece of paper. I mean, at least the brain understands like that. So there's a little abstraction of the value. That's the second way how they can trap you in this. The third one, the way they trap, is they make like the money in the past 100 years, money has been made God, literally. So they have money is kind of the ultimate. It's replaced divinity. In the past, the Christianity, they used to have churches, they used to believe in God, and faith was a big thing. But after enlightenment in around 1900s, they kind of came up with the concept that God does not interfere in the worldly things. It's money which is doing everything. And they replaced God by money, and then they also brought in the concept, the one who has money, God has blessed them. So this concept of money, they kind of replaced money by God. And again, and once anything becomes a God, then your brain and your entire subconscious is going to be working towards that. So that's why naturally we're going to be working towards it. So this one also they did. And then the other thing is to keep anyone from keeping on, there has to be some element of energy, and that energy they do it by creating anxiety. Okay, so that means anxiety means what? Anytime that it can go, anytime in the future, this money can go away, and you can be in pain, in difficulty. So they will they create the boom and the bust cycles, which we learned about in the economic sessions with Brother Vakas, right? Those are going to come then, and then war, where all of a sudden deflation happens again, depression, the Wall Street, everything is, the inflation goes up and your money value goes down. So in between, if that keeps happening, that's always going to keep you in anxiety, and you kind of not going to get a feeling that you are, it's enough. So you're going to be in that race. Okay, so that's kind of how the elite are going to be using the common man. Okay, so these are some techniques, and we get trapped into this. Okay. Okay, I think I had put some pictures as well. Okay. Yes, and the thing about transnational capital is, what, as I said earlier, they will see places, and so what happens is, once they kind of start these practices, and they keep doing it, and people gradually, the common man will see through, see through, and then they will see through. There will be more conflict, there'll be poverty, there a lot of infighting within the common man, and then this transnational capital and will become unstable. So transnational capital will that time will kind of will take the money and resources into another part of the world. And right now, actually, the financiers are trying to see if they can get into the finance system of China. So in China, they have at least 40% of the people. I mean, the people save 40% of the income, so they have a lot of savings. And now the these financiers, they want to see if they can access that savings and put them in the wealth management systems to kind of get hold of it. So that's kind of, they'll move from place to place again, and then finally, when this dust settled down in a place, and then when people want to rebuild again, they'll come back. So that's kind of how the transnational capital will do. And they have their banks in Switzerland and England, and they will have these banks where they keep that stuff. Okay. Okay, and so we talked about, yeah, so they basically they will move around, as we said, and then they don't really care about any particular nation or particular people. Okay, so you have to understand that this layer of financial elite does exist, who are not really even kind of committed to being American, or being this country or that country. They're really not worried about nations or particular people. Of course, they have no and their main priority is money and wealth. They want to be the elite. That's all they care about. Benefit of the humanity. I mean, none of the Islamic principles or anything is it doesn't exist in their philosophy. Okay. Yeah. And so the yes, and so basically, again, the worldview is going to be very different, right? The We already talked about this. The worldview of a common man is going to be, let's earn a good living, be nice, have good time with, family and kids, and kind of that's kind of and religious as well. Let's please do the right thing and please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's kind of just the simple thing of the common man. But then again, this gets infiltrated by the objective of the elite who want to um, be in power, and most of the time they end up they kind of are ending up in the in the Satan's camp, or the Iblis's camp, and they are no value for a human life. Oppression becomes common, corruption, interest, all the things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, they will not have any problem with that. Yeah, there's a couple of studies which they did, and what they found is that there's Milgram's experiment, in which there's obedience to authority, and then this Asch experiment, in which there's a power of group conformity. So you see, basically, so even the elite. Now the question is, how come the elite is kind of doing what the Iblis is wanting them to do, like all the wrong practices, right? I mean, don't they have a fitra? So actually, they do. I mean, they do have the fitra, right? But they are kind of overpowering the fitra by justification, and one of the justifications which they use is that they are somehow convinced in their mind that whatever they're doing is for the better, is for the better of the whole humanity. So they get a they have a false belief. Okay, so and so they kind of so in Milgram's experiment, that's what they did. There was a the experimenter in a lab coat, and then there was another person who was lying in the room, in the study room, and there was electrodes attached to him. And if electrodes but if you press a button, the electrodes will he'll get a shock. So the experimenter used to call the audience who was watching, and ask them to do it. And he was wanting to study whether the people whom he calls will do it, and they were ending up doing it. And because in somehow in their brain they said, I am I'm obeying to this person who is a scientist in the lab coat, right? Then they're kind of absolving themselves of the responsibility, kind of putting it on the authority of this the lead of the experiment. And okay, he's doing an experiment, and so they did it. They didn't kind of say, why are you doing, or to stop it, right? So this is kind of one of the weakness of the human beings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again warns us against this, right? No one is authority except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that kind of will get us rid of being trapped in these kind of obedience to authority, right? And the second interesting experiment which is done in psychology was again they had like a group of people, and then they asked them to and then they called in one volunteer, and then they asked this group of people to kind of misread a line or anything, any object. They were calling a line a circle, and then so all the people who were already asked to tell it is a circle, was said it's a circle. And then when it came to the volunteer who had no clue that the experiment is going on, he also said it is a circle. So he kind of just conforms with the rest of the group. Okay, so these are the two traps which human being again fall in again. And then again, Islam says don't fall into any troops only anything, rather than you have to go in with what is in the Quran, and the role model is Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam alone. Okay, so that is the okay. So that's a little bit about the financial elite. There's part method. I'm going to skip that. Yeah. So we touched on this. So transnational capital, again, this in Venice, they were the merchants of Venice. Subhanallah, we have the story of Shakespeare's story as well, right? The merchants of Venice, and they were merchants. They used to go around. They had a lot of trade routes, and getting spices from the various routes from different places, selling. They made a lot of money. And then after Venice came the Dutch Republic. And Dutch Republic was in the 17th century. Yes, and the one of the Venice, the Marco Polo, right? He's a person from Venice who's again going on expeditions, trying to find out new lands, new resources. So they kind of funded, you know, those expeditions as well. So Marco Polo is from Venice. Then we have in the 17th century, it went to, you know, the Netherlands. This area also became very, very rich. Again, so the trade routes, you know, from Asia, especially spice and all of that, they were you know, selling to various parts of the country, and Amsterdam became the first financial center in the 17th century. And after that came London, England. So England, apparently, this happened in 1688. Yes. So the Bank of England was established, and the Dutch, who had a lot of wealth, they kind of transferred all of their wealth to this Bank of England. And the question is, why did they do that? The way they did it was because of you know, Britain actually made one of the Dutch aristocrats, William Orange by the name. They made him one of the, you know, I'm not sure if they made him the king or something. So that's why they, you know, that led to this, you know, transfer of all the Dutch Republic wealth to London. They also created the Bank of England, and when they created Bank of England, they also told the people who are, you know, putting in the wealth in Bank England that, you know, it's going to be safe. Your money is going to be protected by the parliament. In other words, you know, if anything, if you incur loss, you know, if you there's no way you're going to lose whatever money you put in our bank. If you have a, you know, loss, then, you know, the people will get together and bail you out, right? So that they kind of gave that guarantee as well. Okay, the Bank of England. And then the later from the Bank of England, it kind of, you know, moved on to the United States. And the Bank of England equivalent is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, and the, you know, the Freemasons are the group of, you know, the people who are now you know, who are the lead right now with wealth management. Okay, that's, yeah. And so the Venice, so yeah, Venice was Catholic, and the Dutch Republic was kind of separated because they did not like the Catholic, you know, Orthodoxy, and these are the Protestants who formed the Dutch Republic. So that's how the transnational capital flowed, and currently it's in the United States. Yeah. The leaders are, and now actually they're trying to move this to, you know, China. They're trying to get to the capital of China. Okay, okay, okay. I think we're going to the nation states next. But okay, let me just kind of, I think there's some slides I had here. So this is one tier of power. Okay, the one important tier of power which calls the shots is this transnational capital. We did all these, yeah. Yeah, we talked about, you know, the gold, how the merchants' gold was there, and then it was hard to move around, so they kind of did the currency. And then we talked about, yeah, the central banks. And then we all talked about this, right? They have to create, you know, poverty so that they keep the common man running in, you know, collecting money and working and producing the capital. The same thing with hunger as well. They have to, you know, create the narrative of that, you know, there's limited food, and then they weaponize food, as we saw in Gaza as well. And yeah, subhanallah, there's so much of food which is wasted. You know, if we were to just equally distribute it, no one would be hungry. But then creation of wars and, you know, restriction of sanctions and all of that is actually, it's very much engineered as well. And then the other important ideology which was propagated in, I told, right, the ideological elites, they kind of went hand in hand along with the transnational capital and finances, and that is the individualism, you know. So they kind of, the John Locke, Jean Rousseau, Adam Smith, you know, they kind of all started propagating among the common man that, you know, individual, you know, you have to be happy, and that happiness again was designed more in terms of, you know, materialism, right? So that kind of played a role as well. Okay, I think this after we did, yeah, we talked about, yeah, military. They have to any group which comes in power will need to have military to kind of prevent the outside forces. They'll have to have finance and resource control. We talked about the institutional power, who will do the rules and legislation, the education, the media, the level they must have. So this is kind of in short, in brief. They'll have the small elites. Elites will design the system. We have the financial elites. Yeah, the ideological elites can be there. Now technological elites are also coming in. Then the bureaucrats and the educators and the media, they will kind of buy into them, and they will be the one who's disseminating it further in schools, in universities, through news channels, through books, and all of that into the people. And then these people will live within the system limits, and they will usually not even question. They're kind of so totally convinced, they don't even question. Just a little bit the same thing, the elites will design the strategic blueprint to serve their agenda. And then will be the executors, the bureaucrats, the educators, the media, the Netflix, all of that. They are kind of seeing, and then there will be the workers who are kind of trapped. They're oblivious of what they're contributing towards. They are kept entertained in their free time. They are fed propaganda, right? They're trained by design to have a low IQ and not know what's going on, and not pick up on cues. And life is designed for them, but they're given the illusion of freedom. Okay, so just a little bit of a visual on that. Okay, so that's the transnational cap we talked about. Now let's move on to the nation states. All right, so I'm done with this section. How much time do I have? 15 minutes. We can probably finish off the nation states. Okay, so the nation states, yeah. So the feudal systems which were there in the past, and after World War III, they kind of defined into these. They became, instead of kingdoms, now they kind of became nations, right? And they kind of United Nations, and they kind of give a nice packaging cover for the same underlying systems. And subhanallah, even the FIFA World Cup, you see the initial, when the players are entering, you see that they have the flags of both the countries, and they sing the national anthem. So they kind of want to promote that nationalism. Okay, so yeah, so you get the plan. So once you have this knowledge, you're able to pick up very well where these are kind of being inculcated into the common man, and how oblivious the common man is about all these. And there's a reason why they do that. Big flags on that stadium, and they sing their national anthems, right? That's kind of what is the beginning of the game. Okay. Again, Olympics and everything, they kind of use even those stages for just instead of creating instead of creating bonding, and uniting, this is the beginning of that FIFA match. And even the goats, whether it's Messi or whether it's Ronaldo, the only thing that they can do is they can have a band on their hands. If you want to see them, football unites. That's all they can do. So is there, if at all it came to them that they need to do something to unite the world, that's all. They could not do anything much more than that. So they are within the confines of the system, which is designed by the elites. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. Okay. So now when it comes to nations, so now so the nations are going to function together. They also, they are formed. So that's why it's very important for this national anthems, and because you have to have that cohesion, and my country, all that has to come, right? So they have to do a lot of rituals to kind of get that into our system from when you're little kids, right? You sing the national anthem in your school and stuff like that. It's very much trained into your psyche and to subconscious psyche. So that is one thing. And then definitely, when it comes to formation of nation states, military is a very, very important part of that nation state power. Again, you have to have resources, and United States has a lot of resources, whether it's land, whether it's minerals, whether it's oil. So that will again define the success of a nation. And most importantly, you must have a strategic blueprint as well. Okay, now we'll see the okay, so the current nation states which are in, so we already discussed about the transnational capital, which are cross nations. Ideological elites, again, individualism and then Zionism are the big ones at this time. Islamic civilization, when Islam was, that is one of the very big ideology again. When we call it the truth, and we call it universal. and now we're going to discuss about the states. So the two biggest powers actually are the United States and and Russia. So why? Because they have a lot of resources. They have a lot of resources, and they have the military power to help any countries or anyone who wants to ally with them. They are the two big powers. And then now they're the wars which you're seeing right now are they're proxy. The proxy wars. One is, for United States, it's Israel who's, we're wanting to play the um, partner of United States and playing their role. And then we have, Iran, whom Russia is kind of joining hands with. Okay, so this is kind of the main dynamics going on in this world. Okay. So let's now see each of these states. United States. Their system is a democratic system on the top, on the package, but the transnational capital, the financiers who are the elites are having deep roots within United States, deep roots, very 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 deep roots, and they are behind the scenes. And the democratic system, which claims equal rights, is on the front cover. So that's their system. And the problem with for the common man level, the people are divided into uh, uh, Republicans and Democrats, and a lot of infighting is happening. But the very fact that that there's no specific group like Republicans or uh, Democrats, is that the policies don't change irrespective of which party wins. Okay, so that's a very clear indication that there's someone else calling the shots. Okay, um, and yes. Then we have their the strategy. So this is a political system of United States called democratic system, but behind it, as we mentioned, there's this transnational capitals, and these Zionists, and most of the Zionists have deep ties with this transnational capitalists. If they're not, they're very much very closely linked. If not, they themselves have a lot of, they've entered into those circles. Okay, so they call the shots behind this democratic system. And then on the national front, the National Strategic Plan of the United States, which is actually available online, if you see, their focus is, their plan is to maintain worldwide leadership. Okay, this has been, American imperialism, this has been since the founding of the United States, actually, even from 1780s, 1790s. That's still the same, and now it has shifted to establishing the Fortress America. What the current strategy of the United States is to kind of make the Northern Hemisphere into a fortress for America, with all resources. That's why they went into Venezuela. They want Greenland. They want control Canada. Even South America. So they kind of want to have all the resources controlled. And then they want to be the leaders, and they want to provide weapons as well as resources to the rest of the world. So they can still be in the lead. So that's kind of their game plan. Okay. What all do they have? What are the various tools that they can use to maintain this? They have their aerial military, right? Then they have the naval fleet as well. Then they made the US dollar is the currency in which trading is happening all over the world. So people will have to buy and sell and exchange in dollar. And then they have the media, right? We already talked about all these things in the general thing. We have the media narrative, which now the social media is coming and giving it issue for that, right? So the media narrative in maintaining all the whatever narrative they want the world to hear, right? The common man to hear. So that's how they are very strong in media propaganda, aerial and naval, and the finance, US dollars. Okay, and most of the, as I said, most of the transnational capitals are behind the scenes in US. The strategic alliances, these are the countries which US aligns with: Europe, UK, South Korea, and Japan. But again, this US, probably does not have big interest in any of these countries, and that's why rather they want these countries to depend on the United States for their resources, oil supplies, the technology and weaponry, right? And yeah, they kind of want them to depend on them. And and what they do is the US can also always create conflict between these countries as well, so that they will always look to US for security and safety and get all the weapons and stuff. Okay, there's weapons industry is a very big financial way how US makes a lot of money. So that's the United States. Okay, next let's move on to the next player. The next player is Russia, right? The Russia. So Russia is, Russia is also very rich in resources, oil, and artillery. That's his strength. And again, Russia is the one who wants to be in power. The government system is an autocracy. It's run by Putin. What's the benefit of that? There's not much of clash between different, one person making decisions, easy to make decisions. Resolve can be there. Determination is there by Putin, so it's very easy. But the problem is, if after Putin, who else? They're probably training someone else to take his place. But yeah, so that is the autocratic government. What is their strategy? What is their basic strategy for Russia? So they want Russia to become the third Rome. So apparently, the Roman Empire was one of the big big countries in the past. Then we had Constantinople became big countries, and then now Russia is going to become the third. Is going to become the third Rome apparently. And they believe their strategy is that they kind of want to unite all the Christians. So a lot of Christian orthodoxy is there within Russia. So that is their kind of long-term strategic goal. What are the strengths? Military power, a lot of resources, oil. Their land artillery is very, very strong. And then the Russians are very, very resilient, and they are willing to sacrifice their lives for their country. They're very loyal. So that is another important strengths of that as well. Okay. Then we move on to when you come to Israel. So yes, so in Israel, based the government, if we have there are two parts there. We have the Jerusalem and we have the Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is more of the secular part, and Jerusalem is more of the theocratic, more the traditional Orthodox Jews. So there's a lot of infighting in between them, and you sometimes hear from time to time in the news. Um, uh, but despite that, the politicians there, they try to get everyone together under they unite at this level of grand strategy. And their grand strategy basically is the Greater Israel Project, right? From Egypt all the way up to in the Nile in Egypt to the Euphrates. So including parts of Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and even a little bit of Turkey as well. Okay, so that is there. So despite a lot of infighting among those, secular versus Orthodox Jews, they unite when they come to the grand strategy. So that's how I told you, right? The cohesion of the Abassiyyah, it's very, very important. Okay, which Ibn Khaldun recommended, suggested. Tools what they have invested big time in their intelligence agency, the Mossad agency, and that can getting all the information in very easy to create internal conflicts in various countries. The technological elite, most of them they have technological elite, AI surveillance, they're doing a big time in that. And then we're very close link with the transnational capitals as well. Okay. So that is the strengths, and they manipulate. I mean, they can manipulate any and every country, and and right now they think their strategic interest is harnessing in the U.S. and specifically the Christian Zionists of United States, who also want to usher in the coming of Jesus. Alayhi salam, and hence they're going to support the formation of Israel, right? So that is under of their strength. They're able to, use this wish of the Christian Zionist for Jesus alayhi salam to come in. They're able to capitalize on that, and their other big strength is the Jewish diaspora. They everywhere the Jewish people, and they've entered into very critical positions everywhere. So those are some of the strengths of the Israel. And then now next we have Iran. Now Iran is the next proxy. And Iran is again is a theocratic state, the IRGC, but again they also have this secular part of them. So not all people in Iran are very they're secular Muslims as well, and not Muslims too. So there's a little bit of clash there. That's one of their problem. Again, the grand strategy of Iran is to kind of unite the Muslim world and take down the power of the Western world, right? And then their strengths, they have the missile technology, drone technology. They've invested heavily in that. They have a lot of scientists, military experts in there, and they're very educated. They have really worked on the human resources big time. Then they have again, because of the faith, their soldiers will fight till the last. That is their strength as well. Their land, the geography with the mountains and the strategic location of Strait of Hormuz is another of their strengths. And then the strong allies as well with Houthis, and then with the Lebanon, the Hezbollah in Lebanon. So that's their strengths. Okay, and then it's a geographic fortress, which is a very very beneficial thing for them. Okay, so these are the basic four players, and we kind of so so everyone has their own agendas, their own strategies. So whenever their strategy will match with them, or they have something which they can collaborate on, they will join hands. Now, so Russia will join hands with Iran, and Israel has joined hands with the United States, right? So that's kind of what is going on. So as we talked about, if you look at this map, the Americas, it wants to have control on the trade, and mainly the naval, the water, the routes, the naval routes. So it wants to, US plan is to have control of the Strait of Hormuz is now an issue now, and they're trying to block this, and they're trying to see how they can get control of that. So that's one. They also want to control the Strait of Malacca, which is right here between, I think, between Indonesia. Yeah, right here. Then they also want to control all the trade routes, the Panama Canal here. They want to have in the Greenland, and then the Suez Canal as well. So they want the naval presence. So they kind of want to have control over the critical, maritime passages, so that only the one who has control on these passages will be able to sell their appliance, their defense equipment and oil and resources, and they can dictate who will yeah, they can sell theirs. That's most importantly. Plus they can have control and prevent the selling of the Russian fleet. So the Russia again has a naval thing as well called a shadow fleet, and in the news, if you see, there's always little clashes going on, and Russia is watching closely where all America is kind of putting its power in these trade routes, um, because it does not want, it wants to be selling its oil and stuff. Okay, so two big contenders actually are Russia and the US. Yes, this is kind of the same map. Here we have the Strait of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia. Yes, and this is very important apparently very important for Japan. Japan does, the Japan is also a naval fleet, is a very small country, so it sells and stuff. So this is going to be very crucial for Japan. Then we have, yeah, Panama. We have the Suez Canal here, the Strait of Hormuz, and then we have here as well. Okay. All right. Okay. And then I think almost getting to the end of. So this is kind of the current thing, and now so Russia wants to build. Russia wants to basically build. I can go back to it wants to sell its products. Let's go back to the slides. Yeah. So Russia basically has a north. It's trying to build a from Russia to Iran, the north-south corridor. Russia to Iran to Africa. That's kind of railroads and stuff. That's one plan, and then there's one like China, Iran, and then this way. So there's one parallel east to west as well. And Iran is kind of very central in that. So hence it becomes very, very crucial for United States to prevent that from happening. We talked about shadow fleet tankers. They want Russia is also creating the naval presence, and and so the war which is going on between Russia and Ukraine is very much supported by NATO, and also probably a lot of it supported in the by United States as well. It is supported by United States as well. And right now they've seen increase in in a lot of destruction of the oil resources of Russia by drones, by Ukraine drones and stuff. So and recently there's an attack in Russia as well with the Ukraine drones. So there's a proxy war going on there with in the US as well. Okay. Mm, and I mean, Iran is being supported by Russia, and Russia will probably also bring in our China as well, and they are probably supporting Iran in this conflict. So yeah, so the Russia and Iran connectivity is going to be very important. As I said, they want to for the trade, for selling the resources. That's kind of the most important reason why they are going to join hands. Mm, yeah, and Russia, we talked about Russia as more of Orthodox, right? Orthodox Christianity. And they, at this time, they are, you know, they understand the Islam as well. So they're kind of going to team hands. And even actually in our hadiths, there will be, Europe and Iran will, they will be together, and then again, and then there will be a split. Again, there'll be war. So that kind of makes sense, that these two are coming together at this point of time. What else? So that is the big game plan, and we will. And this happens very gradually. So US is not going to let go of Iran so easily. Is kind of what it looks like. Mainly because Iran is in the center of that map, in that railroad, in the corridors and all of that. So the way, yeah. So they might, send in ground troops. The war has already started again. All those ceasefires and MOUs, they probably are not going to. They have not held. And the United States actually has good relationship with Azerbaijan, and so the United States will probably, have all the, with Ukraine. So it will kind of want to attack, kind of, drain the power of Russia. So that will be the plan of the US. And then definitely, want Iran to kind of not do well. And I don't, they probably, I mean, the strategy will be probably they want to take down Iran and block the Strait of Hormuz and stuff. Um, so that's kind of their plan, and we'll see what happens. So this is kind of how you can follow this war and see. And as you talked about, in this, United States also wants to, take over Canada, or at least, and Venezuela. It already, took over took over Venezuela and put a puppet. Government Maduro was taken over. Even Cuba, they kind of probably trying to, you know, get Cuba under their control as well, and then Greenland with a lot of resources. So it's kind of a power of ultimately resources and power. Um, that's kind of, yeah, that's I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. What else I have? Yeah, same thing. The strategic routes we talked about, the corridors. Yeah. So yeah, so keep following the geopolitics from now, and then see how they are playing. China is really not playing, like, it doesn't want to be like a power like Russia, at least at this time. It just wants to kind of get its business and make its money and be safe and not get involved in anywhere. But it's helping the Iran through back door. So that's how China will play. Hmm. Yeah. And this is, I think we'll probably do the section. The ideologies are totally different. And again, but there's always a merging of all these, this transnational capital and the nations, and then these ideologies. And Western liberalism, Zionism, and we talked about individualism already. Okay. So subhanallah, so again, let's just last couple of slides, we'll see what Islam is, alternative framework of power. What are the differences between Islam as a framework for power? SubhanAllah, in Islam, again, there's no particular person, no particular kingdom, no particular nation, which is power. It's completely redirected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that'll kind of take away all that reason for conflict, and that, that need for gathering power away, right? So that is the very, very big thing. And then, subhanallah, when it comes to the rules, and we talked about every power will have rules, and those rules again are not going to be limited by any particular group. The elites cannot make their own rules and impose on everyone. That cannot happen in Islam. Rules are written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are for the benefit of the entire humanity, of the entire universe. And so that framework, you're going to get those rules from there. No one can change it, whether it's a king, whether it's, it can't. So that is the other benefit, right? And then, subhanallah, no division of nation states, no singing my national anthem, your national anthem, nothing of that sort. Human beings, everyone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his rules are all together. The Asabiyyah concept of social cohesion, loyalty, bonding, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to frames us in the Quran. So the reward will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he encourages this cohesion between us. Definitely within the rules. The rules cannot be broken, and you can't be critiqued lightly. So that is the benefit. And then then we said about the economic system, the complete framework of the economic system, equitable wealth distribution. There's no financiers printing money and um, uh, you know using people's money to fix their losses, and no collective well-being, no interest, all of that, which we have been doing a lot of sessions on economic justice. The entire blueprint is right there. Again, regarding when it comes to media, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, it teaches all the fallacies of the human beings, the emotional pitfalls of the human beings, the arrogance, and what are fallacies and the biases we can all get stuck in. And it encourages critical thinking. So all that, the media, you can really, if you have engaged with the Quran and have critical thinking, the media and this propaganda, you will not fall for it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes sure that that's not there. And then again, questioning if anyone does wrong, accountability, stopping injustice with with your hand, then with your words, and with at least in your heart. And then the leadership is again completely laid down. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the ultimate example of how leadership is done, not for any particular interest to hold on to wealth and power, or on exploit the common man for the human capital. So that is very, very clearly given in Islam. So subhanallah. So again, what can we do, as me and you as an individual? Again, first we want to definitely understand what's going on, and engage with the Quran. You will see each and every ayat and see how the ayat, what it is explaining, which aspect of these power structures is being explained or warned against, and where are rules put to prevent from which pitfalls. So if you approach the Quran with that, it's going to lead tremendous deep understanding. Again, we as Khalifatul Ard have to bring in solution to this power mongering going on right now. Collective Asabiyyah concept has to be developed within us. Bring back the economic solutions based on the principles in the Quran, and of course challenge the oppressive practices. So I think that is pretty much it. And subhanallah, and for us, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the center of our heart, and it's not money as what was done by design in the past 100 years. Yeah. Jazakallah khairan, and I will take any questions, and yeah, inshallah.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah. Thank you, Sister Farhana. It was very informative. Certainly gave a viewpoint on, where everybody's working for themselves. It's like there is no one caring for the entire planet or working as, for that cause. So the questions are all welcome. I'll put in the survey link. Please, if you want to ask any questions from Sister Farhana, please do so. Raise your hand, or you can write in the chat. Please go ahead. Any questions?
Was it too much? If you didn't understand anything, please let me know. I can just go over it. I know there was a lot.
It is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
I had a question, Sister Rana. Even with Iran, we are not really on the Islamic principles. It's still not quite as it should be. They're still looking at it's not looking at one nation as a whole, Muslims, or the way Prophet ﷺ looked at it, and he just went on and on, including people. It didn't matter what their religion was, what they were. He was just out for justice. And I don't see that happening in Iran. It's just like they have their own. They're better, and they do have a plan, but it's not totally in terms of like we are all Muslims together. Let's go forward. You know, that unity I don't see at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they called, they called for, Muslims to unite, but again, the neighboring countries, they have had a lot of strifes with
Mm,
the, with Saudi and Syria, and
mm,
so much infighting between those countries there in the Middle East.
mm.
Yeah, so they have not been able to be successful in that. Yeah, and the ideology also a little different, so that's been a challenge.
Yeah, the Shia Sunni thing, it creates conflict within the ideology. So
Yeah.
it's something to overcome. I mean, they have got a senior body which bases the decisions of the government based on Islam, but I don't know, how does one fix that? It would be nice to have some kind of leadership in Islam, you know, some kind of leadership, not country leadership, just leadership.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what the Khalifa was, right? Even though the Ottoman Empire Khalifa was not doing the best job, but there was one, and then that came to an end, right? 1920s, yeah.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, subhanallah.
okay. Any questions, Brother Abdullah? Anything you'd like to ask, Sister Safia? Did you benefit from it? Did you learn anything? Do we need to repeat it? Do the
अस्सलाम
survey?
वालेकुम मैम।
Right.
Walaikum salam.
बोलिए।
अच्छा मैम, इस कन्वर्सेशन में हमने 3 प्लेयर्स का तो जिक्र किया है, लेकिन चाइना का आई मीन चाइना को हम कहाँ पे जो है वो लेके आएंगे? हालांकि आई मीन फॉर मोस्ट ऑफ देम, मोस्ट ऑफ द एनालिस्ट, दे क्लेम और दे मेक अ पॉइंट कि चाइना इज एन इमर्जिंग पावर आफ्टर अमेरिका। तो व्हाई you know what about China? What role it is playing in this global chess?
Yeah.
What do you
So I
think?
mean, yeah. So I mean, so far, I know we see the American National, strategic draft hai. In that they have documented that they want to, make sure China is under their control. So they are
They want to
definitely
contain
seeing,
China.
yeah, they want to contain China. Yes, very very clearly written in the national. So they want to contain China. That's very clearly. So they are, um, kind of expecting that that will kind of be a be a power, be a power. What they did actually, in fact, China became the manufacturing power of the world. And United States kind of contributed towards doing that as well. Actually, they outsourced everything, and then it became so they want to keep a check on that. That is very clear, and that's why recently when they all went, all the business elites as well as technological elites, they all went to China with Trump. In that they basically wanted to get hold of they wanted to open the financial the market and get hold of the savings and put it into their wealth assets. So that's kind of what their plan is. um, is how China is going to how China is going to respond to that is yet to be seen. And the what they're saying is that every country to be like the if any country wants to be a power, they have to have a blueprint and and a strategy. And so strategy of China is kind of like more be within its borders, protect itself, and kind of grow. That's kind of what is China's philosophy at this point. It's really not very interested in going out and being the leader, at least. And until now they have really not shown that they want to be a leader. So they will probably and so the China's game plan is probably going to be wherever they're going to get benefit, they will have allies. Like they will, they'll have good deal with with US as well. They will help Russia as well, because they can get oil from there, and same thing with Iran as well. So they're kind of going to be everywhere and use everyone for their benefit. That's kind of their game plan at this point of time. Whether they want to become a power, at least so far we have not seen that. They kind of a power in the back, definitely, I would say, right? Because they're manufacturing, they have a say. They're getting military, they are investing, so that is also there. And then the resources, all the minerals, heavy minerals, or rare minerals, sorry, not heavy, the rare minerals are all within them, with them too. So they're kind of having soft power for sure, big time. Yeah.
It's a good strategy, though, isn't it,
Mm.
Sister Farhana? Because they're building internally before they go. Even if, I would think they would go external as well if they don't have Islam with them, that kind of philosophy. But one has to start to build internal. All these other countries, America and Russia, they don't really invest in people. As you said, they're using it's a capital, human capital. How can we get the most out of them in order to be rich and powerful? Whereas I don't know whether China has the same, because it does sort of get people involved to get things better in the country. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I, I feel they care more about internal strength before they go external.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, at least till now they have not raised their, head.
mm,
They're
mm.
under the head is under the water so far. But
Mm.
yeah, it's but US is kind of already planning. I mean, they want to get them under control, more under control. So that is there clearly. So that means they might know more. Yeah, that it may be an emerging. It's definitely a threat for sure.
So
Mm.
don't Russia and America see an internal threat? Why don't they see that internal threat growing? America, there should be a lot of it's growing, but they're
Yeah.
not they don't pay attention to it or just ignore it.
Yeah, they I mean, see that's the whole thing, right? It's kind of the landlords and the peasants. They really don't
Mm,
care. The civil
mm,
war will come to. I mean, in US, civil war is probably, coming in. The poor people, the ones, the deprived, they are all going to be, fighting in. They really don't even care. The elites don't care, and they are going to just increase the surveillance, and they're
mm,
investing heavily on ICE now.
mm,
So, and AI, they're going to use big time for surveillance. So, what they're going to do for the solution for that is to kind of increase the surveillance big time,
mm.
and to kind of suppress the common man more. So that is the strategy here. Um, and it's one like even China though, the strategy has been surveillance is super high there for the
Yeah.
common man. So they are worked hard. Again, they are also using the capital of the humans. I mean, are they giving it back to their own people? I don't know. We'll have to, get Chinese people to talk about it. But yeah, surveillance is super high. They work very hard there, and many people from China, they want to, leave and migrate to US and stuff. So yeah, it's not the best. Again, subhanallah, any human design system will not be the best. That's for
Not,
sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That is
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
It'll have their own faults. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But surveillance will
where
become
do
big.
you think that we should go from here, Sister Fan? I mean, from this talk, what should be our major takeaways? What should we do, as individuals?
Yeah, I know. I think we should not fall into the trap. I mean, that's the
Mm,
first step. We should
mm,
know it very well. I mean, subhanAllah, I mean, when you see the FIFA, way they are introducing and doing the anthems and fighting over that silly ball and hitting each other, I mean, it's pathetic. So we just can't become a part of that. That's the biggest thing. So first of all, we need to protect ourselves from falling in that loophole, and then they're making money, and then the FIFA ads are all about wine and betting and yeah, what else I saw this ads? Yeah, there was, either they are drinking or they are, yeah, betting. Those are the ads which are showing up on the FIFA in between the break times. So the first, I mean, first of all, we had realized, really can't be a part of this. And then second thing is we need to, I think, educate our youth to be exposed. SubhanAllah, I'm getting exposed to this right now in my, late 40s. And we've been a part of the system, so I think, exposing our youth to this and then showing them that the perfect alternative of Islam will be the first start.
Mhm.
Will be the first start, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I mean, we're on a journey and it is going to take time, we realize that. But it's every day we must make progress. I think that's what we're saying as individual and as an ummah.
Yeah.
Of course, the Masjid project is basically based on that, and I hope, everybody will participate and get more surveys done.
Yeah, and
So-
the collaboration, and learning this and then collaborating with each other. I think is the Asabiyyah, the concept is very huge. Anyone can rise if there's a small group of elites who joins together with a strong purpose and clarity and a clear blueprint with enough energy and with creativeness. Yes, then that's the beginning of change. And that's a seerah. That's what is a seerah. Seerah is exactly that.
Yeah, and every mosque could become that. You could have that in small communities rising and joining together, and then, even from the economic viewpoint and other things, you could get stronger together.
Yeah.
Inshallah. It's very, very beneficial. And I think maybe we could, have just a session on action points that we should take, Sister Farhana, from here individually. I mean, I'd encourage the audience to join the Find Your Truth courses, and to also do the Masjid, get involved practically in the Masjid project. Our future courses will also cover more community work based on your talks, where we need to get stronger group sessions going rather than working individually. So Allah Ta'ala give us strength, give us, courage and power, honesty, sincerity, and taqwa, inshallah, to do all this. Ameen. Ameen. We do need each other. We can't do it alone. No single person can do it. So inshallah, let's just stick together and make dua for all of us to, be able to do this. And this is our test this lifetime, that we play our part, inshallah, to do that. Jazakallah khair, Sister Farhana. Very much appreciated. We'll end up with a dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاك الله خير جي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.